At the will reading, my parents said, "She's always been the pretty one, she deserves the condo," then slid me a napkin with directions to a storage locker. I almost didn't go, but when I did, I found something that made my sister scream. My name is Maura Lee. I was born and raised just outside of Boston, in Brookline. I'm the oldest of two girls. My sister, Sabrina, is 4 years younger. We grew up in one of those quiet, middle-class neighborhoods where everyone mows their lawn at the same time and brings bundt cakes to cookouts. Our parents, Alice and Gerald, were both public school teachers. Good people, strict in that old-fashioned New England way. Education, image, discipline, that was the holy trinity in our house. I've always known my role in the family. I was the smart one, the quiet one. The one who cleaned up the dishes without being asked, who never missed curfew, who got a job at 16 to pay for her own car. And Sabrina? She was the beautiful one. The glowing one. The golden child. She was trouble wrapped in charm. Mom would say she was a handful, but always with a soft laugh like it was a compliment. She got away with everything, staying out late, skipping class, dating guys who made my stomach turn. But it never seemed to matter. If she cried, they forgave. If she smiled, they forgot. I remember once, when I was 15 and Sabrina was 11, she broke Mom's Waterford crystal vase. I saw her do it. Dad was furious, until Sabrina started crying. Big wet sobs, saying she tripped. I tried to speak up and say what really happened, but Dad turned to me and said, "Don't be mean, Maura. She's upset enough." That was the first time I realized, the truth didn't matter if it made Sabrina uncomfortable. Anyway, fast forward a few decades. I'm divorced, no kids, and I work as a CPA in a small firm in Weymouth. Sabrina married a startup guy named Russell. They had 2 daughters, Isla and Seraphine, and moved into a sparkling waterfront condo in the Seaport district. The kind with huge windows and building-wide concierge service. I visited once. Felt like I needed a valet just to breathe there. Sabrina always seemed to bounce through life, light as air. Me? I slogged. I budgeted. I filed taxes for clients and lived in a modest condo I bought after the divorce. When Mom passed away first, after a long, slow battle with Parkinson's, I was the one who sat beside her every weekend. I managed the medications, the appointments. Sabrina flew in when she could. She always brought flowers, always took selfies with Mom in her scarf and oxygen tubing, and always left early to beat traffic back to Boston. Then 6 months later, Dad had a heart attack. He never really recovered after losing Mom. He was gone in the middle of the night, alone in the house. I got the call. I called Sabrina. That week was a blur of phone calls, arrangements, casseroles from neighbors. Sabrina showed up in a perfectly tailored black dress with not a hair out of place, clutching a white Chanel bag that probably cost more than my monthly rent. The reading of the will was in a small legal office in Cambridge. Mr. Kentley, their estate attorney, was an old, thin man who looked like he'd been waiting to retire since 1987. We sat across from him at a long wooden table. I was exhausted, still processing grief, still coordinating with the funeral home, and Sabrina was scrolling through her phone, tapping away with glossy fingernails. Then came the moment that changed everything. Kentley cleared his throat and read from a thick, stapled packet. The condo located at 174 Harbor Walk shall be bequeathed to Sabrina Lee, as she, quote, has always been the pretty one and deserves something beautiful. He read that part aloud. My jaw clenched. I felt my face heat up. Then he turned to me. Maura Lee will receive miscellaneous personal property as per the private instructions of Gerald and Alice Lee. That's when he handed me a folded napkin. I thought it was a joke. Like a sick joke. Written in my father's stiff, all-caps handwriting were 4 words, Locker 217, Hillside Storage, Dedham, no address. No key. Just that. Sabrina gave me this look. Almost smug. She was already calculating the listing price for the condo, probably. She patted my hand like I was a child. I'm sure it's something meaningful, Maura. Dad always liked his little puzzles. I didn't reply. I left. The napkin sat in my purse for 3 days. I couldn't bring myself to look at it. I didn't want to believe they'd given her everything and left me with a storage locker. Seriously? But something in me stirred. Curiosity. Or stubbornness. Or maybe just spite. So I went. It was a Wednesday. I left work early, drove down Route 1 to Dedham. The storage facility was basic: cement rows, rolling metal doors, a flickering fluorescent sign by the office. The guy at the counter didn't ask many questions. Gave me a passcode and pointed toward the back row. Locker 217 was in a quiet corner. I rolled up the door and found just one item inside, a large, battered cedar trunk. The kind you see in old movies, with iron corners and leather handles. It was heavy. Dusty. I had to sit on the concrete floor and yank the latch open with both hands. Inside? Photos. Letters. Envelopes. Neatly stacked, categorized. At first, I thought maybe it was old family stuff, wedding pictures, love notes between my parents. No. These were surveillance photos. Hundreds of them. Sabrina. In cars. Walking out of bars. Embracing men who weren't Russell. Some shots dated back over a decade. Some recent. All time-stamped. All catalogued. Her hair changed in each one, long, short, blonde, brown, but the pattern was unmistakable. And tucked among them was a manila envelope. Inside, a DNA test. I read it 3 times before it made sense. It was a paternity test. Requested by Gerald Lee. Results for Isla Lee. Russell was not her biological father. My stomach turned. My mouth went dry. Why? Why had my parents kept this? Why store it here, in secret? Why give it to me? The realization hit slowly: they'd known. All these years, they'd known. And they'd watched. Documented. Hidden it all away. And then I noticed a small note in the chest. In my father's handwriting. If you're reading this, Maura, it means we're gone. We didn't know what to do. Sabrina has made her choices. You've always seen the truth, even when it hurts. That's why we gave this to you. Do what's right. I felt sick. And something else, vindicated. All those years I was the outsider, the one who never got the praise, never got the benefit of the doubt, and they had known. They saw what I saw. They just hadn't known how to face it. I called Sabrina. She answered on the second ring. Maura, hey. Everything okay? Her voice was breezy, but I could tell she wasn't really listening. I could hear chatter in the background, maybe a cafe or somewhere public. I need you to come to Dedham, I said. Now. Dedham? Why would I? There's something you need to see. It's about Mom and Dad. She hesitated, probably weighing whether she had time for whatever little drama she imagined I'd cooked up. Can't you just tell me? No. You need to see it. I think the way I said it must have gotten through to her because for once, she didn't argue. She just said, fine. Send me the address. I waited in my car outside the storage unit. The photos, the envelope, the letter, everything was still spread out on the floor of the locker. The light was starting to fade, and it was quiet except for the occasional hum of a car passing by on the nearby street. Sabrina pulled up in her Mercedes 30 minutes later. She stepped out like she was arriving at a lunch date, not about to have her world flipped. She looked annoyed, pulling her coat tight around her. Heels. Lipstick. Like always. What's the big deal, she said, walking toward me. This place is creepy, by the way. I didn't say anything. Just turned and lifted the trunk lid. She stepped forward, leaned down, and saw the pictures first. She reached for one without asking. What the hell is this? Her voice sharpened instantly. I didn't answer. I handed her the DNA report. She stared at it for maybe 10 seconds before her entire face changed. She looked up at me, eyes wide. Then she backed away a step. No, yeah, I said quietly. She opened another envelope and pulled out more photos. And then more. The further in she went, the more her composure cracked. Where did you get this? She demanded. Locker 217. Hillside storage. That napkin Dad left me at the will reading? This is what it led to. She blinked rapidly. They gave this to you? They wanted you to find it? Yes. She looked around like she suddenly didn't know where she was. Her fingers clutched the papers so tightly they started to bend. They were spying on me? For how long? I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. She knelt down, flipping through the photos now in frantic bursts. They knew. They knew about Isla. Her voice cracked. Jesus, Mora. And then she did something I'll never forget, she screamed. Loud. Echoing through the corridor of metal doors. A raw, awful sound I'd never heard from her, or anyone, in my life. It startled me. And for a second, I almost felt bad. Almost. Then she stood up fast, eyes wild. You can't show this to anyone. Russell, he doesn't know. He can't. It'll destroy everything. Why did Dad test Isla? I asked. Did he know something? Did you tell him? She shook her head, arms crossed over her stomach like she was holding herself together. Mom found out first. I don't know how. Maybe she overheard something. She confronted me once, years ago. I begged her not to tell him. But he knew, I said. He knew enough to test Isla. And they kept it quiet. Until now. She didn't answer. Her eyes were glassy. I wanted to ask why. Why had she done it? Cheated. Lied. Built her life on this secret while I was shoved aside. But I already knew the answer, because she could. Because she always had. She lived in a world where consequences didn't apply. Mora, she said, finally. Please. Don't do anything with this. Don't show Russell. Don't tell the girls. I haven't decided, I said. You can't, this could ruin me. I looked down at the photos. They gave it to me. They trusted me with it. Not you. She stared at me, like she was trying to figure out how to undo it all. How to get the upper hand again. But this wasn't like when we were kids, and she could cry her way out of a broken vase. This was real. I need to think, I said, turning toward the locker. You should go. Sabrina didn't say another word. She walked to her car in silence and drove away without even looking back. I stood alone, inside a dim metal hallway, surrounded by a decade of lies. I stayed in that storage unit for another hour after she left. Just me and the ghost of every truth they'd hidden away in that trunk. The photos were now in uneven piles, some of them scattered from where Sabrina had fumbled through them, some slightly torn at the edges where her fingers had trembled. The air was heavy with dust and the faint metallic scent of the storage unit walls. But beneath that, there was something else, something quiet and nauseating, like the smell of betrayal. I didn't cry. Not then. I just started packing everything neatly back into the trunk. Each photo. Each note. The DNA results. The letters. The paper was so fragile in spots that I could see the fiber split under my fingers. These were my parents' last truths. It felt sacrilegious to let them scatter. There were more letters, too. Not all to me. Some to each other. Some to no one. I found one from Mom, folded inside an envelope addressed simply to you. It wasn't signed. I still don't know if she meant it for me or Sabrina, or maybe even herself. It's hard to love someone you don't respect. It's even harder when they're your own child. I hate that I feel this way. I hate that I feel guilt for loving more and more, because she never asked for anything and got nothing. If you're reading this, I'm sorry. But the truth can't stay buried. Not forever. I remember staring at that line for what felt like 10 minutes. Maura never asked for anything and got nothing. That line pressed into me like a thumbprint I'd carried all my life but never been able to see. I drove home in silence. No music. Just the sound of my own breath and the dull hum of the highway. I didn't tell anyone what had happened. Not my coworkers, not my ex-husband when he called out of the blue to check on the estate stuff. Not even my therapist. I didn't know how to talk about it. And then, 2 days later, Russell called me. Not Sabrina. Russell. I was at my desk, eating a bland chicken salad when my phone lit up. I almost didn't answer. But something in my gut told me this wasn't a coincidence. Maura, he said, almost breathless. Listen, I know this is strange, but I was hoping we could talk. I froze. Talk? I asked carefully. Yeah. I don't know how to say this, but Sabrina's been acting really strange. Panicked. Withdrawn. She keeps saying she needs to leave town, just for a while. She won't explain anything. It's like she's unraveling. I was wondering if something happened during the reading? Did your parents leave something that upset her? I pressed my hand to my forehead. Why are you asking me this? Because you're the only one who's being normal right now, he said. And I know Sabrina's lied to me before. I've always suspected things. I never wanted to believe them. But now, Maura, something's going on. Please. If there's something I need to know, tell me. I stayed quiet for too long, and he started to backtrack. Never mind, he said. God, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have called. This isn't your job. I just thought, there is something, I said quietly. Silence. I don't know what to do with it yet, I continued. But you're not imagining things. She's not just stressed. There's a reason. Is it another man? He asked, so softly I barely heard him. I didn't answer. That was all he needed. He exhaled slowly, like a man whose body had been braced for years and was finally falling. Okay, he said. Okay. Thank you. He hung up before I could say anything else. That night, Sabrina came to my door. No warning. Just her standing on my front steps in a hoodie and leggings, no makeup, looking more like a shell of herself than I'd ever seen. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. She did anyway. Did you tell him? She asked. I didn't lie. He called me. Her eyes narrowed. What did you say? I didn't show him anything. But I didn't lie either. She let out a bitter laugh and sat down on my couch like she owned it. You just couldn't help yourself, could you? Don't put this on me. You think you're so moral, don't you? You think just because you never made any messes that you're better. But you have no idea what it's like being the one everyone expects everything from. I stared at her. Sabrina. You were the one they adored. You were the one they gave everything to. They watched me, Maura, she shouted. They didn't confront me, they didn't ask me, they spied on me like criminals. That's not parenting. That's control. They didn't know how else to handle you, I said, my voice low. You lied to them. 4 years. And to Russell. And to me. She looked at me like she was trying to summon the version of me she could manipulate, the Maura from childhood who'd take the blame or keep her mouth shut to keep the peace. But Maura had grown a spine. I didn't show him the test, I added. But I don't know how long I can sit on it. She stood up quickly. You have no idea what this will do to my girls. And you didn't think about that before? Her lip trembled, and for a second I thought she might actually cry. But instead, she walked toward the door. Just remember this, she said. You're not some noble truth-teller, Maura. You're just jealous. You always have been. She slammed the door behind her. And I stood in the quiet, empty room, staring at the place where she'd been. My heart was beating hard, but not from guilt. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like the overlooked sister. I felt like the one holding the match. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything, the photos, the test results, Sabrina's tantrum, the strange calm in Russell's voice when he said, I just thought, I was tired. Not physically. Not in the way that a nap or a weekend off could fix. This was deep in the bones tired. A lifetime of playing the background character in my own life. Being the dependable one. The stable one. The boring one. Always cleaning up messes without making any. And now I was holding all the pieces of my sister's real life in a box in my apartment. The next morning, I packed everything carefully into a large envelope, including the letter my dad wrote to me. Then I made a call. Russell met me at a quiet little diner in Quincy, one of those old-school places with a jukebox at every table and a waitress who calls you hon. I picked it on purpose. Public, but not busy. Familiar. Neutral ground. He was already there when I arrived, sipping a black coffee, looking exhausted. His eyes were bloodshot, and his shirt wasn't ironed, which, for Russell, said everything. I sat across from him and slid the envelope onto the table. This is what your gut's been trying to tell you, I said. This is what Sabrina didn't want you to know. He stared at it for a long moment before reaching for it with both hands. He didn't open it right away. Just hold it. You're sure? He asked. Yes. What happens after I read this? That's up to you. He gave a sad little smile, like a man already grieving something that hadn't even ended yet. I always knew something was off. But I wanted to believe the life we had was real. I nodded. I think they did too, in their own way. He looked at me. Are you doing this to hurt her? I didn't answer right away. No, I said eventually. I'm doing it to stop being invisible. 2 weeks passed before I heard anything. I didn't see Sabrina. She stopped calling. Russell didn't reach out either. Then one morning, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. It was Russell. She moved out, he said. Took a suitcase, said she needed time. She didn't deny it. Any of it. I didn't say anything. I just let him talk. I haven't told the girls. Not yet. I don't know how. I don't want them to hate her, even if she's made a mess of everything. I think they'll figure it out in time, I said. But they'll also figure out who stayed. He went quiet for a second. Thank you, he said. About a month after that, I got a letter. Handwritten, no return address, but I recognized the handwriting immediately. Sabrina. You've ruined everything. But maybe everything deserved to be ruined. I don't forgive you. But I also know I can't go back to how things were. You win, Maura. Enjoy your little victory. I folded the letter and placed it in the same box with Dad's notes and Mom's unsent confessions. It didn't feel like a victory. It felt like closure. That weekend, I drove back to the storage unit. Emptied it out. Closed the account. The trunk went into my garage. I couldn't quite bring myself to toss it. Some truths deserve a home, even if you don't look at them every day. A few months later, Russell and the girls moved out of the condo. Too many memories, he said. I helped him find a realtor. It sold fast, of course. The seaport doesn't stay on the market for long. And the best part? Because of the will, it was technically Sabrina's property. And in the settlement, she had to liquidate and split the assets with Russell as part of the divorce. Her condo. Her kingdom. Gone. She moved into a small apartment in Austin, last I heard. She got a job at a boutique or something. No more Chanel, no more private schools. The fall wasn't sudden, but it was quiet. Complete. She never called me again. I didn't expect her to. But I did get a message from Isla. Just a simple one-line text, "Thank you for protecting Dad." That one broke me. I didn't respond. I just cried in the car, in a grocery store parking lot, holding a bag of frozen peas. So now, here I am. It's been a year. I still go to work. Still live in the same modest place. I've started taking a pottery class on Saturdays, joined a local book club. Small things. Quiet things. I never wanted revenge. But I did want to be seen. And in the end, the truth did the job better than any scheme or plot I could have dreamed up. My parents left her the condo. They left me the truth. Only one of us walked away with anything that lasted. And I think that says everything. I haven't spoken to Sabrina again. And no, I don't regret anything. Truth has a way of cleaning out wounds, even the ones you've been pretending didn't exist.